Hello. Hi, Lisa. A very dark, rainy Chicago day. Sorry to hear it's so dark and rainy there. We actually have the opposite here in Philadelphia. It is blue skies, so sunny, so beautiful. Definitely the end of summer, but still really nice. Hi, Jack. Glad you could make it on. All right. So while people are still coming on and while you are getting your questions prepped, I'll do my intro here. So for those of you watching this as a recording after the live stream, I am Kristin and my channel is From Chronic Fatigue to Chronic Abundance. And what I do is I teach you the thing that has helped me most through 3 recoveries from severe chronic fatigue. And what I teach is not specific supplements or regimens or diets or treatments, because I tell you what, if there was one thing that cured severe chronic fatigue for everybody, we'd know what it is by now, and it's not that simple, okay? Also, every time I've healed, I've needed different things to get better. Needed different doctors, different practitioners, different coaches, different supplements, different doses, different treatments. So even as one person, I needed to find a new healing journey each time I got better, okay? But there is one thing that helped me each time I healed and helped me heal faster each time and has now helped me prevent recoveries. And that one thing I teach here is the healing mindset. The healing mindset helps to motivate you on your healing journey. It helps you make the best decisions for yourself. It helps make your recovery faster, okay? That's what we talk about here. If you are new to my channel and you're not familiar with what the healing mindset is, I recommend going back to the beginning of this channel, the videos I posted back in 2017, and starting to watch those. Make your way through the videos. The first one is definitely the most popular one I've made to date and kind of sets up the healing mindset. And then the subsequent videos all tackle little pieces and aspects of what it's like to live with severe chronic fatigue and how to live better while you still have symptoms. I do these live Q&As once a week right now as a way to have some one-on-one direct interaction with you guys. I love getting your questions. No question is off topic as long as it has to do with severe chronic fatigue. Nothing is too taboo or weird. Like, we can talk about it all here. And this is your place to ask me questions. And then as I start to answer, more questions come up, or other people in the community might be able to offer their own insight. And then we can all have this really wonderful, I find them wonderful conversations on these topics together. All right, great. So a few things I'm going to talk about today. Agenda, I'm going to give you a little update on this retreat I'm going on. I'm also going to give you a little update on my personal life. I should probably start with the personal life update because that one's easy and fun. Actually, not so fun. Not this time. And then we'll go into, then we'll open it up for questions and answer anything people have. And in the down spaces in between questions, I do have some information for you guys that I promised last week. Last week, I think it was Raph, asked a great question. Well, how do you build community when you're this ill, when you feel so isolated because you can't get out there and meet people and be the friend that you want to be? What do you do? And I didn't have a great question for that last week. So I really sat down and thought about it pretty hard this week. And I have some recommendations on how to go about doing that. I have things that I did for myself that worked. And then I also have some things that I wish I had done more of while I was still ill and really searching for a community. All right. And you can feel free to drop questions into the chat anytime. I will get to them as I do. All right. So first update, this past weekend, went out to the country to visit my sister and my brother-in-law and my nephew, which is so much fun. Had a great time out there getting to see family. They had a nice little dinner. My mom and dad came over and my aunt and uncle came over. We all had a really great time and everyone got to spend more time with my boyfriend, which was nice. However, I was there not even 12 hours when out of nowhere, we're all on the porch and this must have been a wasp, or we think it might have been a sweat bee. I think it was bigger than a sweat bee though. I think it was a wasp. Stung me right in my bottom eyelid, like right there, almost in my eye. And it was incredibly painful. I mean, shooting pains where it stung me. And then you can still see it actually, this lighting shows it pretty well. My eye really swelled up a lot that morning. It was Saturday morning when it happened. And there's still a little bit of puffiness. I can't believe how long this sting is really like staying and influencing me. But note to all of you, if you get stung and you start to swell, I highly recommend topical Benadryl. It's Benadryl in a cream. And once someone had to go pick that up from the store and bring it back to me, but once I put it on, the swelling started to go down within minutes, okay? It was very effective, very fast. And then we also had something, I forget what it was actually, something very specific for relieving the pain of stings. And I was wiping that on there as well, and that took the pain away. So, you know, it's great being out in the country. We got to do bonfires both nights. And like I love sitting outside in the forest around a bonfire. But, you know, those pesky bugs out there eating you up out of nowhere. So actually, I wish YouTube made it easier to share like files during a live stream, because I have some really cute pictures of me with my nephew I'd want to show you guys, but I don't know how well it works to hold a phone up to the camera, but I guess it's worth trying. Why not? It's a really cute picture. It's funny, I'm actually wearing the same outfit in the pictures I'm wearing right now. I didn't think about that. But all right, I think this is a really cute one of me and my nephew. Oh, actually, let me make sure that the brightness is all the way up. Okay, brightness is all the way up. Here he is. He's not even 2 yet. I got him that little easel to play with. So I was teaching him how to draw stuff. He's really good at just drawing lines right now, just all over the paper. His name's Zeppelin. He's about 20 months, and he is my only niece or nephew so far. And I just love getting to spend time with him. Lisa had to hop home to put ice on a bee sting on her foot. I've definitely gotten stung on the foot as a child. And I can remember it being the worst thing ever. My foot was so swollen I couldn't put my shoes on for a couple days. All right. Jack asks, did I have severe depression while I was sick, and what were my coping mechanisms for getting through? So I definitely was never diagnosed with depression while I was sick. You know, I think being diagnosed with depression while severely ill is a tricky thing. Okay. And I'm not a doctor and I'm not a psychologist, and I'm not saying I'm right on these things. I think from my own experiences, what I want to say is that it's really natural and normal, and I'd say even healthy, to feel really sad and to feel really low motivation when you're severely ill with severe chronic fatigue. And, you know, typically a whole host of other health issues, like I know you're going through, Jack, you're going through that diagnosis cycle right now. And it's when you're that ill and that limited in your abilities, and you have so much of your life taken away from you by this illness, I think it's really hard to separate what is normal, natural sadness and demotivation versus what is some sort of systemic problem in the brain. Now, I'm not saying that nobody with severe CFS also has depression. I'm sure that does happen, but it becomes very tricky to differentiate between the two. And, as far as coping mechanisms go, I would say the number one coping mechanism is actually the healing mindset, because having the right mindset, even when you're sad and even when you're not feeling motivated, you can still have a healing mindset, was the first thing that helped me turn my health around. How do I want to say this? There are ways to be sad and ways to feel unmotivated that are negative and continue to take away from your life. And there are ways to be sad and ways to be demotivated that are still positive forces in your life. We tend to see sadness as something bad that should be avoided. But in reality, it's natural and it's just part of being human. And by learning to allow ourselves to feel sadness without shame, without minimizing it, just allowing it to exist as it does, it can actually be a really powerful communicator. And we can actually learn a lot about how we feel about things. And also, by feeling the sadness is actually oftentimes the fastest way through the thing that's getting us sad or what we're feeling sad about. We tend to stop our emotions and deny them, thinking that we shouldn't feel them and we need to get on with our lives. But by stopping our emotions and not feeling them, we're actually prolonging our focus on the things that made us feel so sad, because we're not allowing ourselves to process what's going on. And that processing of emotions, that allowing of emotions, is part of the healing mindset. So I would say coping with sadness and demotivation is first just really letting myself feel those things very intensely when they come up. Because when the emotion comes up and the emotion starts to fade, that's when I can start thinking rationally again. That's when I can start to say, oh man, yeah, that thing made me really, really sad. That thing's a big problem for me. I wonder what I can do about that. And for me, blocking my emotions and denying them, stopping myself from feeling them, actually takes a lot of energy, and it was draining. And as uncomfortable as it is to feel our emotions, what I teach with the healing mindset is that it's actually the easiest way through something. It takes the least energy to feel our emotions and process it, even if it feels the most painful temporarily. Now, I'm saying, like, oh, we can feel our sadness and say to ourselves, like, oh, what can I do about it? And sometimes there isn't anything you can do about it in the short term. Sometimes it's, oh, yeah, no, I'm still severely ill. I still can't get out of bed today. And that still sucks. All right. And I think we need to allow ourselves to say, this really sucks when it does. All right. This whole like positive mindset thing of like find the silver lining in every situation, I think is unhealthy. And I think can actually get in the way of recovery for some people, because we're denying our real experiences. And it takes a lot of energy to deny reality. It takes a lot more energy to convince ourselves that things don't suck when they actually do. All right. I know I've talked about this quite a bit, but a really key core aspect of the healing mindset is this idea of acceptance. I want to say what acceptance is, and I want to say what it is not. It is not saying I accept this and I'm going to do nothing about it. Acceptance is accepting reality for what it is. It's accepting I'm really sad right now, and I'm going to allow myself to be sad while it's happening so that it can pass and I can move past it. Acceptance is I am really sick and unable to get out of bed today, and it sucks really hard because I had really wanted to go to work today or go to class or whatever things in life you're missing out on. Okay, it's accepting how bad things are sometimes. And instead of dwelling on it, we're accepting that this is our reality and feeling those emotions, and then getting to the other side of those emotions and saying, okay, now that I accept the reality of this situation, what's the best thing I can do for myself today? And when you're severely ill, the answer is usually, I'm going to rest more, right? And to truly rest, we need to have some level of peace. And when I say some level of peace, I mean, if we're feeling guilty about needing to rest more, if we are beating ourselves up and calling ourselves lazy and doubting whether or not it's all in our heads, and telling ourselves that we're bad people for not going to work or going to school, like, that's not really resting. That's a lot of work to beat yourself up the rest of the day for choosing to rest. Okay. So, man, I just shared a lot of info. So, okay, I want to recap everything I've said because that was a lot. I want to say that if you feel like you might have depression, or you feel like a doctor or psychologist or if they have diagnosed you with it, I would, of course, get a second opinion. And I would also sit back and really watch myself very carefully for this sadness and demotivation that comes with depression, and ask myself how much of that is really just expected and healthy because of my life situations. And see what I can do about that portion of the sadness and demotivation that is due to my life circumstances, and apply acceptance to it, and learn how to be at peace with my situation and do more of what is good for me, which is typically resting. And then the little bit of energy we have, instead of feeling guilty and instead of beating ourselves up for resting more, let's take that energy and put it into discovering what people and treatments we need to actually start healing. Okay. On the flip side, if it seems like there really is some sort of physical, biological cause for actual depression in addition to what you're feeling as someone who's severely ill and limited, I would just proceed with caution. If you're going to be starting any new depression medications, I would recommend isolating that change, meaning I wouldn't make any other changes to my health plan or my diet or my sleep or anything else like that for, I would say, 5 to 7 days before I start a new depression medication. Okay. And after you start the depression medication, I would talk to the doctor about how long before you can expect to see any changes. And it might take a month to see changes on some medications. I mean, that's just a guess on my part, and from having been on all sorts of medications over the years. I don't personally know depression medications well, but say it takes up to a month. Don't make any other lifestyle or health or sleep or diet changes in that time. Because what can happen is if you start a new medication, like a depression medication, and you change other things in your life, and then your body reacts either positively or negatively, you don't know what actually made the change. And knowing what has influenced you, either in a positive or a negative way, is crucial. Because if you don't know what's helping, then you don't know what was actually wrong in the first place. If you start to feel better and less depressed, you don't know if it's because you've adopted the healing mindset, or if it's because you started this new supplement, or because you removed gluten, or from the depression medication. You can't know. And it's really critical on this healing journey to know what's helping you. All right. It's hard because you feel impatient and you just want to do all the things that might help you. But if you do all the things that might help you and then something gets better, how do you know what to stop doing? How do you know what isn't working for you? How do you know what lifestyle changes you can let go of? Because I tell you what, it gets really exhausting and really expensive to keep doing everything all the time. It's insanely exhausting. So even though it's unpleasant and difficult and you don't want to be patient, I would highly recommend giving any new medication, or really any treatment you're doing, enough space and time in isolation to know how that specific thing is helping you. All right. Big topic. I could go on and on about that one. That's actually something I haven't talked about before, is how to isolate changes so that you know what's helping and what's hurting. Maybe I'll make a video on that. Making a note for myself. Okay. Big question, Jack. Big answer. All right. It's definitely a topic I could draw on in the future. All right. I have a ton of messages to catch up here. So I'm going to read through. Oh, thanks, guys. I had such a good time with my family. Oh, your kids are grown, Lisa. Oh my gosh, your youngest is 16. I can't even imagine. Okay, Lisa agrees about depression. She gets depressed for hours and sometimes days, but she thinks it's due to the illness. So it would be natural and not something abnormal, even though it sucks either way. Yes, it does. And that's okay to admit. Yeah, Jack, I bet it's been really, really tough with the tuberculosis scare. I mean, adding that on top of everything else you're dealing with, of course it's overwhelming and terrifying and sad and depressing. So you find out, oh, you got retested. Great. 3 days. Yep, you're into feeling everything and accepting it. You think because you got sick because of family issues. I don't think I want medication, but I've been suggested it by some people. Yeah, I mean, family issues. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a link between the mind and the brain. And just because some physical issues have a mental basis, that doesn't make them not real. There's this weird thought, there's this weird belief in society, in the world, that if our emotions cause physical problems, that somehow they're not real and they're preventable, right? Like we can just stop having emotions. Like it doesn't work that way. It's not about stopping the emotions. It's not about you having done anything wrong. It's really more about society also telling us that we should stop feeling emotions and just move on with our lives and get on with things and go be productive, happy humans, right? You can't have both. You know, to really support our physical health with our mental health, we need to feel the things that come up and we need to be able to be honest about them, not shamed for feeling bad sometimes. That's a rant I could get into. I won't write that note down. You don't think you want medication, but you've been suggested it by some people. One thing I will say, and this comes up a lot with the autoimmune hypothyroidism I have, people don't want to go on medication for their thyroid issues, but sometimes medication does have a purpose and a place. I want to say if you think that medication could help you, Jack, and is being recommended by certain professionals, then maybe explore that option. If you don't think it's something you need, then don't do that, because you are in control of whether or not you go on any medication, regardless of what a doctor or therapist says. You're always in control of whether you start something. You know, don't dismiss the idea of medication just because it's medication. I would really try to base it on whether or not it seems to be the right thing for you right now. Because I'm on a medication. I'm on thyroid medication for like 9 years now, going on 9 years, and I need it, and that's okay. You know, my body, I have autoimmune thyroid disease, so my body has actually destroyed part of my thyroid. I don't have a full thyroid organ functioning anymore, so it makes sense to supplement with it. Although the cool part is, tracking my blood work over the years, my antibodies are going down with time. So I'm actually curing my autoimmune disease, which is so cool and so fun. And it doesn't happen overnight. It takes years of being diligent about my health and wellness, but it's happening, you know, and that's how all this stuff happens, is slowly over time, you recover from severe chronic illnesses like this. Yeah. Okay. Let's see what Lisa has to say about medication. Oh, that's cool. There's this company that tests your DNA to see what meds work the best with your DNA and which ones would be most likely to give you bad side effects. That's pretty sweet. Personalized medicine is becoming a big thing. We have so much technology available now. It's kind of shocking. It's not a bigger thing than it is. Oh, Jack. Yeah, we're here for you, Jack. Lisa's on meds for thyroid. Yeah, I have Hashimoto's, Jack. That's exactly what I have. Although at some point I'll be able to say had. because Hashimoto's is specifically the autoimmune version of hypothyroidism. And, once the Hashimoto's goes away, the autoimmune part goes away, then I'll just have hypothyroidism. My thyroid is still just a partial thyroid, so it's still going to be under functioning. I'm still going to need some medication. I'm okay with that. Let's see. Lisa says for 2 years, your thyroid is shrinking on the left side. Shrinking. Does that mean like that's the side where I guess the autoimmune attack is happening most, or some weird bug outside? Sorry, I got distracted. Or are you saying that you had goiters and the goiters are going down? Because goiters, I wouldn't say they're super common. They're not abnormal to have on your thyroid, and they can grow and shrink in size depending on things that you're eating. Specifically, if you're taking supplements like iodine, or if you're eating too much raw cabbage and broccoli, it can exacerbate thyroid issues. I don't want to go too much into that side of things, since this isn't a thyroid blog specifically. For those of you watching the replay or new to my channel, I do not focus just on like ME/CFS. What I'm talking about really is applicable to anybody who is living with severe chronic fatigue for any reason. You can have Lyme's disease, something like fibromyalgia. Whatever the cause. 98% of what I talk about is applicable across the board. Okay, so Lisa says her thyroid went on the fritz right after coming down with CFS PATS. I developed issues with my thyroid at the same time I developed severe chronic fatigue, and the two were independent because we got my thyroid numbers great and my fatigue was still 90% there, right? So the thyroid issues were only contributing that much to the overall severe fatigue. And there were many other things that were needed to get me back to where I am today, which is great and energetic and happy and healthy. Let's see. Jack, I did not do antimicrobials. I did not do antivirals. I did not do any of those things. It was never recommended to me by any of the practitioners that I worked with either. So there's that. Let's see. All right. I did say I was going to give you an update on this retreat that I'm doing. So if you haven't heard, I am very excited that I applied to and got accepted into a 10-day silent meditation retreat. For 10 days, I will sit in silence and I will practice a form of meditation called Vipassana. Now, Vipassana is this 2,500-year-old Indian tradition, of meditation. And I'm so excited about this particular style of meditation because it's all about connecting back into the sensations of your body. Okay. Like I was talking about earlier, like tapping into our emotions and allowing them to exist and feeling them as a means of actually conserving energy and getting past those emotions and feeling better. To take that a level deeper, Vipassana connects you back into your body, and a core tenet of Vipassana is that all emotions first start off as sensations somewhere in the body. And because we live so disconnected from our bodies in modern society that we don't feel that like early warning sign of something is going on, whether it's good or bad. And those sensations, because they're ignored, turn into emotions that become overwhelming and controlling. And then we have to deal with the emotions or choose not to deal with the emotions usually. And then that creates all sorts of other issues in the body. So Vipassana is really about learning to sit there and connect with my body and be fully aware of everything that's happening at all times as a way of processing the things that are happening to us in everyday life, more fully present, and also in ways that create more freedom and more positive emotion in our lives. Okay. I'm sure I'll have a lot more to share on that when I get back. It starts tomorrow night, tomorrow afternoon. My boyfriend's driving me down there. He's dropping me off. I am going to have no contact with the outside world. I can't have my phone on me. I can't have a laptop. I can't journal while I'm there. I can't read anything while I'm there. It is about removing every distraction in life to help me sit there and just feel my body and learn how to process life through my body. Okay, they kind of call it achieving enlightenment through the body as opposed to in spite of the body, which I am all about, because I am all about getting in touch with the body and living in union as a body, a mind, and a spirit. Okay, and I'm not religious. I don't understand what my definition of spirit is, but I know what it feels like to me. And I've found that my life gets better and I get healthier the more I choose to live in union with my body, my mind, and my spirit. So I'm not going to be doing any live streams during that time while I'm gone, obviously. I'm also not sure what's going to happen when I get back. The week I get back, I'm probably not going to do a live stream. I'm kind of just leaving a lot of space for myself right now to reintroduce myself into real life, however suits me best. At the end of this retreat, I'm sure there's going to be some things from the retreat I want to integrate into my everyday life. It's going to take time and space to do that. So I will probably not be doing any live streams for 2 weeks in a row. And then that third week, I think like maybe the last week in September, is when I will probably be doing another live stream. But as soon as I decide what I'm doing, of course, I'll communicate that to you guys in advance and we'll go from there. So in the meantime, save up your questions because I will be coming back, just not sure in what capacity. Let's see. 10 days of silence. I don't know. I don't think it sounds like fun, Lisa. It sounds like a lot of hard work, but I think it's going to be completely worth the hard work. I think I'm going to get so much out of it, way more than it takes me to put into it. You can't wait to hear about my experience. I can't wait to share it. That's all right. Jack's got to go now due to brain fog. Totally understand. And tinnitus. Thanks, Jack. Appreciate it. Glad you were here while you could be. All good. Raph says 10 days of silence. I'm crazy. Even for him, that's extreme. Yeah, it's a guided silence. It's also done in a large group setting where there's a lot of other people at the center doing this 10-day cycle with me. I would say the hardest part of this for me, I'd say there are two really hard parts. One really hard part is that I'm someone who really appreciates being healthy and being able to move my body and exercise. So I've made exercise a pretty important part of my life. I'm not at the gym 2 hours a day or anything like that. Like, that's not fun. I exercise in ways that are fun. But I'd gotten pretty in shape. I was going to the gym a few days a week, doing stuff I really enjoyed, started doing some like horseback riding, which has been really fun. I ride my one wheel, which is pretty athletic. And because I'm going to be just sitting meditating for up to 11 hours a day, like I have actually needed to decondition myself to lower my average resting metabolic rate to match or to come close to matching where my metabolism should be while I'm at the retreat. Okay. So I've pretty much had to stop working out, which is very uncomfortable because my body still wants to work out and I'm having to just do nothing. So I'm much more out of shape than I was like a month ago when I started this process. It's been interesting to watch my hunger decrease. I'm a lot less hungry because I'm not working out as often. And there's a part of me that's a little scared of not moving a lot because there were so many years I spent unable to walk freely. You know what I mean? So I've had to work through a little bit of that triggering of like choosing not to move when being able to move like this is everything I ever wanted for so many years. But, I would say it's been tough, but I'm getting through that. And I think I've done a decent job of adjusting my metabolism rate down for this retreat. I did that on the advice of someone I know who's done these retreats before, and he highly recommended going into it deconditioned. And the other part I think that's hard for me is the food situation. I'm definitely an omnivore. I eat almost everything. I love food. I'm really passionate about food, especially locally raised, grass-fed, humanely treated animal products. And they're feeding us a strictly vegetarian diet for 10 days while I'm there. And I don't think I've ever gone 10 days without eating meat. And I know my body starts to crave it when I don't eat enough of it. So it's going to be, I think, an adjustment to this vegetarian diet. So I think that's just my brain kind of mulling on the known issues. And, I'm sure once I get there, those will be the easy parts. All right. And don't forget about the triggers. I hate triggers. Yeah, it's okay. I mean, there's a reason that they're there. They're trying to prevent you from repeating the mistakes of your past. They're trying to help you avoid things that were problems in the past. And we just have to know that, the triggers are there for that reason. And then we need to learn how to work through triggers and deactivate them. It's okay. They're there. They're there to protect us. And we just need to be like, okay, things are trying to protect me. I got this. I'm going to be okay. So no meat, eat beans and mushrooms. Yeah, I don't even have any choice over what I'm eating for 10 days, which is also kind of hard. I'm just going to be given food and I just have to eat it. We only have 2 meals a day. Dinner is just tea and fruit, which I'm not looking forward to that. Anyhow, all right. I'm glad that Raph jumped on because I think the next thing I want to go into is my promise last week. I said I would go back and think about how I would recommend building a community while you're still severely ill with severe chronic fatigue. Because I didn't have a great answer to that last week. So I've sat down and really thought about it and put together my thoughts for you guys. So this came out of a discussion of how community and friendship and closeness with other humans is actually super healthy and actually something that we all kind of need as humans. It creates a really positive dopamine experience as opposed to a really negative dopamine experience like being on our phones and being addicted to drugs creates negative dopamine cycles, whereas human interaction creates positive dopamine cycles. And negative and positive cycles is just a term I made up, but I think it gets the point across. So don't Google that. It's not a real term. When I say negative and positive, I mean negative taking away from our health, positive adding to our health. And then, of course, naturally the question came up, well, how do we do that when we're so isolated? Okay. And I started off by sharing some of the things that I have done in the past. One of the things I did was I ended an abusive relationship that I was in, even though I was living with the guy. He was very verbally abusive and sometimes physically abusive. And I stayed in that relationship way too long for a whole lot of reasons. I'm the reason I stayed in, though. I take accountability of that. And I'm the reason I left. So the things to build a strong community and to help you get healthier and to help build those positive dopamine cycles. One thing is to look at your existing relationships and try to go deeper. And when I say deeper, I don't mean like just divulge everything that's going on in your life to one person. I mean, find a way to have more intimate conversations with the people who are already in your life. And even if you're already super close, try to take that to the next level because, even if we have 100 friends, but they're all very surface level relationships, it's not very fulfilling to us as humans. It doesn't feel like community. That doesn't feel like intimacy and closeness. The deeper and more meaningful our relationships are, the more satisfying they are to our spirits and the healthier they are for us as human beings. So the first recommendation I have when building community, when you're ill, is to make your existing relationships even deeper. Start to open up, show them it's safe to open up around you. Start sharing more intimate things without placing expectations on them. And when they start opening up and sharing with you, really work on being receptive and non-reactive to what they're telling you. And just create that intimacy and that trust and that safeness between the two of you. And then I would also say the second recommendation is to clean house. And that is being honest with yourself about what relationships aren't serving you, which ones are not helping you feel close and intimate with others, which ones are not helping you heal, which people are you around or you talk to and you feel exhausted afterwards. All right. You need to clean house with those people. And that means either you repair the relationship or try to repair the relationship. And the relationships that can't be repaired or aren't worth repairing, that means you end them. Okay. And we need to do this because having people in our lives is not the same as having healthy relationships in our lives. You know, like Lisa said, she was in a very bad relationship for years. Like I was in a very bad relationship. That person was around me and knew me very well. And sometimes we had really close moments. But overall, that relationship was terrible for my health, my mental and physical health. It kept me ill because I spent so much time thinking about and worrying about and obsessing over and trying to change this relationship when I really needed that energy for myself and healing because I was severely ill when I was in that relationship. And it definitely prolonged what I was going through with my health. And maybe it's not that severe, but when our energy is this low, even tiny little amounts, we need to really think about how to hang on to and conserve. And fixing relationships or ending relationships that aren't working for us is crucial. Hard, very hard, but crucial. I would even go as far as to say, is it's better to not have any close friends than it is to have 2 close friends who are actually somewhat abusive. Okay. And there's levels of abuse. And like, I'm not saying anyone who's ever been a bad friend is not worth being a friend with. There needs to be a little bit of just personal exploration and some decision-making around what's worth it and what isn't. Knowing that your number one priority is your health. Okay. And that friendships, while an important part of total health, are still just one aspect. And that having enough energy to heal is more important. Okay. So by cleaning house, what we're really doing here is not just getting rid of things that aren't serving us and people that are draining us. It's really about creating more space and time in your life for the things that are important. Okay. And we're creating more space and time for you to heal. We're also creating more space for the right people to come into your life. When you get rid of the people who aren't working, you suddenly have this time and space you can choose what to do with. And when the right people do come along, you have that little bit of extra to give them. Because with the right people, when you develop those relationships, your inner life just explodes, right? Like you find that right person and things just get so much better. All right, I do have a third recommendation here, but I'm going to get to these questions first. Let's see. At least I can't even imagine being sick with CFS POTS and being in a crap relationship. Yeah, it was insanity. I didn't have the healing mindset. I didn't have self-love. I didn't have self-worth. I didn't have self-esteem. I think those are the biggest problems. Nobody who loves themselves and cares about themselves enough will ever stay in an abusive relationship like that. So I think people who are in those relationships deserve a lot of compassion because they're in a place in life where they don't have enough of those things. And maybe there are a lot of other issues and reasons behind that, sure. But I think that's always at the heart of it. My opinion. Yeah, Lisa says she can't see how you could recover at all being in a bad relationship while being that severely ill. And you're right, Lisa, it's extremely hard. And I really didn't heal while I was with him. I started to heal at the very end, but that's because I was doing the inner work and developing the right mindset, developing self-love and self-worth and finding some of the initial treatments that helped me. And it was only then that I realized, oh, I need to leave because this is hurting me and getting in the way of further progress. horrible situation. What is my opinion on contact with other patients and internet friends, helpful or hurtful? It can be a little bit of both. I actually in this next recommendation here, I strongly advocate finding people on the internet who you connect with, people you can relate to, people who can relate to you, that you can have sustained conversations with, even if it's just purely over the internet and you never meet in person. Building intimacy and closeness with a person through communication is critical and does produce, I'm going to call them positive dopamine cycles. It does create a sense of community. It does give you some of that just goodness of having a friendship. So, I would say look for those people, but be very selective in who you talk to, because they're rare, but there are absolutely people out there who you can connect with and have a great friendship with online who are positive influences in your life, right? Who help you, who help give you more energy than they drain from you. But there are also a lot of communities, especially severe chronic fatigue communities, where there's a lot of toxic people out there. And they have some really negative mindsets. They wear almost a victim mentality. And there are a lot of patients giving other patients advice on how to heal. Okay. And I think the victim mentality and the negative mindset and sharing what worked for me is actually very harmful to patients. Okay. I think, being around somebody with a victim mindset or being around somebody with a very negative, toxic mindset is just, I think that's very clearly unhealthy. And we want to avoid those people, even when it feels like there's so many of them sometimes. And what was my third point there? They have the victim mentality. Oh, patients giving other patients tips on how to heal. I think that's really dangerous, because I know from personal experience how easy it is to feel that when you find that first thing or two that shows you health benefits, you want to tell everybody. You're like, oh, guys, this works. This thing works, right? But they don't have the perspective that what worked for them may not work for other people. They don't have this perspective of like this long journey that it takes for almost anyone who actually heals from severe chronic fatigue and gets their lives back. It's usually a spectrum of things that they need. And nearly everybody's journey is very, very different. Okay. And it takes, unfortunately, years of living with this to really develop that perspective. So, I wouldn't say don't talk to anybody who's sharing what worked for them. Like, it can help to get ideas, but you really need to take what other sick people are telling you with a grain of salt, because as much as they've started feeling better, or they say they healed themselves, they and you don't know that what worked for them will work for you. And their excitement around healing can be contagious and can get our hopes up. And when we keep trying things from other patients that don't work, it can be really, really defeating. Because in my experience, and from what I've read from other people's experiences, just randomly trying things people on the internet suggested almost never helped anyone heal much, right? Like, if it did, we'd all kind of be better by now, right? I think it's really important to take interesting ideas you've heard from other patients and bring that to your knowledgeable, empathetic doctor that you're working closely with, and say, hey, I'm interested in trying this. What do you think? And he or she can talk about how they think that fits in your current plans, whether or not that would be great for you, why they think it would or would not be beneficial to you. And if they're a great doctor, they're going to have that conversation with you, not just, say yes or no offhand. And I would work with them on how to work that into your existing plan or not. Okay. I would not take, I would only take advice. I'd only take that kind of treatment advice, from a professional who's helped other people with this many times over, and has more of an exploratory approach as opposed to a prescriptive one. And I only take it from other patients who have healed themselves fully, who have gotten their entire lives back, and who have gone through the years of like relapses and recovery and have not had relapses for sustained periods of time, because they're the ones who got the results that I was after. They're the ones who knows what's up. They're the ones worth listening to. Okay. So long way to say, talk to other patients, but be really careful about the advice you take from them. Super careful. Because I see a lot of that. And I know that not only has it not helped me, but it's actually hurt me a number of times to just take random advice and to try new things. I have definitely had my symptoms worsen from trying certain things or taking the wrong dose of something, or like, don't do it. Find a doctor you trust and can work with them. Okay, so that's my opinion on contact with other patients and internet friends. It can be helpful, it can be hurtful. It's up to you to approach it, again, with the right mindset. Lisa's had to stop talking to some online patients as they're just so set that they won't ever get better. Yes, Lisa, good for you. Lisa, you are so amazing at this healing mindset stuff already. Like, it is just second nature to you, where you were like, you think you're never going to get better, and you are kind of set on believing that and refuse to have any hope. Ew, like, who wants to be around that mindset? Like, that mindset is not what got me better. If that's what I had believed, I never would have tried, right? And I wouldn't be where I am today if I hadn't tried. Or they don't believe that you're as sick as they are if you have a semi-good day here or there. Yeah, there's a lot of, oh, well, you're that well sometimes, you're not really sick. Oh, you can walk to the bathroom, you're not really severely ill. Gatekeeping illness, which is just feels really gross, right? Like, who, like I've had to look to other authorities to kind of have conversations with those people, because they'll say, oh, you weren't severely ill if, you could push yourself to go to your sister's wedding. And I was like, no, I'm definitely severely ill when I can push myself to my sister's wedding, but then it takes me 2 or 3 weeks of crashing to like get back to where I was before the wedding. Like that's definitely severely ill when I can't function for 2 or 3 weeks after one day of being a normal person. But kind of like Lisa's showing here, those conversations aren't even worth having most of the time, because you're not going to change their opinion with a conversation like that. And they're just draining. Like, have hope. That's one reason I have this channel, is because I want to give you guys more hope. I know how hopeless this can feel. And Lisa, yeah, you are sick. You are very sick. And you don't need controversy in your friendships, in real life or online. Period. End of sentence. Truth. Yeah, that's it. You don't need that negativity, and you don't need that doubt from other patients. And these, I'm going to say a lot of these patients who are doubting other patients and trying to gatekeep illness are the same people who in turn say they want nothing more than to be believed by the people in their lives, right? How many times have you seen someone say, oh, I just wish so-and-so believed me. I wish they got it. I wish they understood. Well, let's start understanding each other more and communicating from that place, instead of trying to cut each other down with how sick you are or are not. Yeah, Lisa, pushing for family functions. That's what you do, and then you crash. Yeah, one thing I've talked about in the past is, every so now and then, used very sparingly, it can be totally worth it to push yourself, even if you know there's a huge crash coming afterwards, okay? Because even though it's physically bad for you, sometimes, very rarely, like with family functions, it can be worth the push to your soul. Like, it can be so fueling to your soul. Like, if I had not gone to my sister's wedding, or if I had not been a bridesmaid in her wedding, I'd probably still regret that. Like, even though the crash was so hard for so long, no doubt in my mind that it was worth it and worth the setback in my recovery to be there with my family, for my family on that day. All right. It's just about your personal preference as to knowing what's worth it. Not going out of guilt, not going because you feel like you should, not going because it'll make so-and-so happy, but going because it's going to feed your soul. Okay. That's when it's worth the push and the crash, I think. All right. Abracadabra. You feel better in the evening and worse in the morning. You don't know what causes that. Okay, abracadabra, that could be a lot of things happening here. Man, I don't even know where to start with that one because there's so many things it could be. I would say the first thing you might want to do, if you haven't done this already, is I would go to like a functional medicine doctor or someone like that, and get your cortisol and adrenals tested. That kind of like feeling better in the evening, super tired in the morning, or even like wired at night, super tired in the morning feeling day after day, can be a sign of cortisol dysfunction, your cortisol being too low in the morning and then ramping up too high at night. It can also be a sign of adrenal function malfunction. It could also be just a sign that your sleep schedule is not working for your body. I would definitely work on getting to bed earlier, getting to bed at the same time every night, giving yourself maybe a lot more sleep than you are. Maybe you need 8 or 9 hours a night. Try to give yourself nine hours, to sleep every night and see how that does for you. Because the earlier bedtimes, the longer sleep periods, and the consistent sleep times are really what our bodies need to be healthy and fully rested. So if you aren't doing those things already, I would highly recommend starting those. And after a month, if you're tired in the morning and feeling better at night, cycle still continues, that's when I would really look into working with a functional medicine doctor to figure out what's going on there. Because it could also be things other than sleep and cortisol and adrenals. That's a really general symptom that deserves looking into more. Lisa has hope, and you try to make every choice your best choice. So one day you will be better. And Lisa, that's how it happens. I know that's, to everyone else, that sounds so slow and frustrating and not what we want to hear, but that's how it happens. And then also by building those habits while you're sick, that's how you stay healthy. Okay, that's how you stay better, is by continuing a lot of those habits. Lisa says she would think cortisol dysregulation as well. Circadian rhythm problems. Yeah, abracadabra. The first thing to do when addressing circadian rhythm problems would be sleeping at the same time every night, sleeping longer. I said same time every night, consistently at the same time every night, and then sleeping for longer periods of time. That would be the first way to address circadian rhythm problems. You can support that with supplements like magnesium or melatonin. But the habit of going to bed at the same time every night and sleeping for longer is really the essential core. The supplements aren't going to help if you aren't doing those things. They're not going to do much for you if you're not doing those 3 things. So personally, that's where I would start, is just making sure my sleep is on point. And then going to a functional medicine doctor. If you think that there is something more serious going on because your sleep's already on point, then I would go seek the help of a medical professional very quickly. Raf, you have such great questions. What are some healthy ways to pass time for mild to severely ill patients? Sometimes podcasts and reading become tiring. That is so true. Having just noise, just sound can be exhausting, and having to process sound can be exhausting for us sometimes. Reading definitely becomes tiring, especially if you have bad brain fog. I mean, there were definitely times where I just was unable to read. I couldn't remember what was happening. I'd reread the same sentence 10 times and completely lose track of what was happening in the book. I will say one thing I probably did a little bit too much of when I was ill is I watched just really crappy TV. I would watch like reality shows with no plot line, nothing I needed to remember, just like pure entertainment, okay? And this kind of goes against the whole dopamine thing I was talking about earlier. It doesn't have to be reality TV. There are other things you can watch that are this simple, but finding shows that you limit to like an hour or two a day, that don't have a plot, that don't make you think, that are really just kind of pure entertainment. Even just like comedy shows. If you watch more comedy shows, more comedy movies, more comedy TV shows, like those are usually really simple storylines with almost nothing you need to remember. And you can just kind of enjoy each moment of the comedy things as they come up, and maybe you don't feel like that's a productive use of your time. Like normally you wouldn't want to spend a lot of time watching comedy. Like I was that way, but I found it a useful way to pass the time because it was usually positive in some way. It got me laughing. It creates some of those feel-good hormones. It's okay if I was brain fog. It's okay if I was really tired. Yeah, I think comedy shows are one thing to watch if you feel like you can process sound and visual light. If you're watching any kind of show early in the morning or in the evening, I definitely recommend using blue light blockers on your devices and on your TV screens, or I have them right here. I have these orange glasses I wear at night because they block blue light. I literally can't, there are devices in this apartment that have blue lights on them, and I literally can't see the blue lights on the devices when I have these glasses on. I have to take them off real quick to see if the device is on, if the blue light's on. These are really great for helping regulate your circadian rhythm, by the way. So yeah, I would watch no plot line, really simple, really entertaining, like comedy or reality TV shows to pass the time. Some things that I did were a little more physical, like do something really simple and basic with your hands. Like if you can start to knit, like that's something you can do. You can actually just be like laying down and kind of have like your hands and your needles and your yarn just kind of like right here in your rib cage. Really chill, really simple. Doesn't take much thought process to knit and purl. Really simple skill to learn. And maybe it's not your favorite activity in the world, but it's something to do. Let's see, really thinking about this one. I would, let's see, when I could read, I definitely enjoyed reading, but when I couldn't read, I think I really just slept a lot. Like there was a lot of time. Oh, you know what? I did have a dog. There was a lot of time where I would just lay there with the dog. Like, I'm not going to use the word comatose, but like so brain fogged and so tired, but not able to sleep. But like not feeling anywhere near fully functional, not feeling quite human, where I would just lay there on the couch with the dog for what felt like hours at a time and just kind of like letting myself have that rest. So I guess the question is, Raph, like when you have all this downtime and you're not able to listen to more podcasts, you're not able to read more, like what kind of energy do you have? Do you have more mental energy? Are you saying you have a little more physical? I guess if you're trying to rest, you don't have the physical energy, but like what's your mental capabilities like when you're in this state? And yeah, I think that's my first question back to you. Oh man, Lisa, when you first got sick, you could only sleep 1 or 2 hours straight. Oh man, that'd make me miserable. And then up to 5 or 6. Hey, more straight sleep is a good thing. I'm all about like my 7 to 8 hours every night. I don't even wake up to an alarm. I just wake up because my body's rested. It's great. Let's see. So Lisa liked to do sewing, coloring. Oh, coloring. Yeah. Painting, indoor herb gardening. Indoor herb gardening. That's a really good one, actually, because that's a really simple little one. Fun TV at times. Raph binges stand-up comedy like no other. All right, you already got that one. Nice glasses. So, ouch. Actually, I have my old coloring books. Where are they? All right, they're not where I thought I left them. So I don't have them to show you. They have adult coloring books, and you can get just some colored pencils, coloring book, and it's a completely mindless thing to do, but keeps your hands busy, just coloring in designs. Like It doesn't even have to be like you're coloring in like a boy with a dog. It's just cool designs. You can find some really nice ones you like on Amazon. Dopamine avoidance is not the right description of what James advocates. It's more technology avoidance that abuses your dopamine system, like social media and games. Yeah, I would totally agree with trying to avoid social media and games for the most part. Now, here's the thing, like when you're severely ill and you're at home all the time, but you still want to stay connected to people, and you need to find new people to bring into your community, you've got to be doing some sort of social media. Even if that is you find forums that you want to be a part of, and that's where you meet people and that's where you stay connected, you're going to have some sort of notifications from those forums set up, so you know when someone mentions you or replies to your comments, you can keep the dialogue going. So there is going to have to be a little bit of a balance between avoiding the negative dopamine cycle of social media and screens while also encouraging the positive dopamine cycle of connecting with others. And that's going to have to be a little bit of a personal decision there, feeling into what feels like it's giving back to you versus what feels like it's taking away from you. But yeah, definitely want to not spend a ton of time on that and not get addicted to the notification cycle. I actually just turned off all my social media notifications that came to my phone, the push notifications. Turn that off on Facebook, turn that off on Instagram, turn off the email notifications. And I'll still go into Facebook and Instagram on a daily basis, but not because they sent me a notification. It's because I want to go in, because I want to message someone specific, because I want to read the updates in a specific group. I'm using it with a lot more intention, and it doesn't feel like that roller coaster anymore. And I'm using the tools now to actually connect with the people I want to be with, which is the positive part of social media, is actually using it to connect with others, be part of groups that give back to your life. / sometimes when I'm bored, I go on it still. I'll admit it. Yeah, and I don't think there's any right or wrong with these things. I think it's about finding our own balance of what works for us. Oh my gosh, we're over an hour here. All right, guys, I'm gonna have to end this pretty soon. I do have still a pretty busy day. I'm finishing up packing for this 10-day meditation retreat. I've got to run some errands around town before I leave tomorrow, and just et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But you forgot about your adult coloring books, Raph. Well, all right, you've got them lying around ready to go. I think it's worth trying. Those would get kind of boring to me if I had a little bit of mental capacity in that moment. They were really great for me when I was feeling kind of brain dead but needed something to keep me engaged. I also think that if you have anyone in your life you can talk to when you're feeling that way, is also a great opportunity to actually write something. Whether you're writing somebody a physical letter, doesn't happen very often today, you're writing text messages or you're writing emails. I find that to actually be a very low energy activity I enjoy doing that can feel like resting, as long as I'm talking to people who are the right people, the people who are adding to my life. I'm not writing out stressful emails or anything when I'm trying to rest, but having positive communications can be very therapeutic and a great way to spend time. Yeah, almost 0 notifications on a daily basis. Good work. All about it. I should have done this years ago. Yeah, Lisa, of course, anytime, every week. Well, not the next 2 weeks, but because I'll be away. All right, guys, any more questions as I'm starting to wrap up here? I mean, wow, about an hour 10. Definitely the longest we've done so far, I want to say. Really good when I feel like I talked your ears off today. I really got going on these conversations. Let's see, we covered all the topics I said. I gave you my update, told you about my sting, either a bee or a wasp sting in my eye. It's a little puffy there. Showed you a picture of my nephew, which was fun. Give you guys an update on this 10-day silent meditation retreat that starts tomorrow. I won't be doing a live for the next 2 consecutive weeks. I will be doing a live stream the week after that, but I'm going to announce when and how I do that after I get back from the retreat. And we talked about how I recommend building community, which is going deeper with existing relationships, cleaning house, either repairing or ending relationships that are not working for you. And then the third one, I didn't formally talk about it, but I actually talked about it answering Raf's question, which is looking for new people online to talk to, looking in communities of people who have similar interests, people who have similar health issues, and being really selective about who you try to bring into your life and really making an effort to be a good friend. Yeah. So that's a nice little recap of today. Let's see. All right, no new questions came in. I think I'm going to say goodbye, and I will see you guys in about 3 weeks. All right, after my 10 days of sitting there silently. All right, it's always great to talk to you guys. I appreciate every single one of you who hops on, and especially those who ask questions, because you guys make this whole thing worth everybody's time. So thank you very much. All right, as always, sending you all love and health. Bye.